Okay, so recently I just had a couple people, or a person, comment on my last video on my engine collection, and they noticed I had a Cox 049 diesel. Well, I mean, it's kind of a good concept and all, but fuck man, I've never been able to get these things to run right. I mean, that's my stuff I use right there. I'll get into that in a minute, but you know, I've tried every mixture out there from here till next Sunday. I've gone on forums about it. I've gone on, asked all sorts of people. What's his name? Peter, or Velco, I think that's how you pronounce that, in Holland, who is like the freaking diesel king. I've talked to him. I've talked to several people on YouTube, and I still cannot get these damn things to run right. I can get it to run maybe 40 seconds, 50 seconds, 2 minutes to maximum, but they just never seem to run properly. They're very difficult to start, and in order to get these things to run, you have to have basically a brand new engine as the only time they'll actually run, because everything's still nice and tight. So yeah, I mean, they're not built like, you know, one of these actual diesel engines that was designed for, you know, to be run on diesel, or as a diesel I should say, or compression ignition if you want to get technical. You know, these make a great glow engine, but they don't make a great diesel. I mean, it's just one of those things. Anyhow, so moving on to what I use to make my fuel with. So you can see I have some made up. I made this not long ago. It's not like glow fuel where you'd be tempted to mix up a whole bunch. This stuff goes bad way faster. Only mix up as much as you think you're going to need. In here we have 35% kerosene, 30% ether, 30% castor oil, and 5% ignition improver. And that's pretty much what I use in everything, and it works awesome all the time. It's good for break-ins. As you can see, it's red. The reason why it's red, hang on a sec here, these right here are a really handy thing to have, these 100mm graduated cylinders to mix your fuel in. But the reason why it's red is because of the oil I use. I like to use this right here. I'm not sponsored by anybody here, so if anyone's watching, that's whatever. I bought this stuff with my own money, so beat it. But right here we have Klotz Benol castor oil. This stuff's great. It smells amazing. It smells like bananas or something like that. This is what I like to use because it's cheap. If you can't get this, you can use Blendzall if you can get that. Make sure it says for 2-stroke applications. This is another really good oil here. This is Castor 927. Just so you're aware, this oil here is clear, so it might be hard to see how much you have in your tank, or you might not realize that you've mixed fuel because your fuel will be completely clear, just like the kerosene you started with. So that's why I kind of like to use this one, because it's dyed, that way you can see what you got going on. This stuff's got a yellowy color to it. Very, very good oil, this stuff. I use it in pretty much everything besides, well, I use it in my dirt bikes too. And here is what I use. Camera doesn't focus that well. Cetane Improver, or Cetane Booster. I buy this. I live in Canada, right? So I'm in British Columbia, and I have this place called Lordco Auto Parts, and they have this stuff, and it seems to always work quite well. Let's see if I can find out what goes in there. Let's see. It says 2-ethyl hexyl nitrate, I think is how you pronounce that. Somewhere right, where is it? Right there. I don't think my camera will focus. Well, maybe. Oh, there we go. Anyway, pause if you want to see more of that. And I go to Canadian Tire and I buy this stuff right here, Quick Start, because it's cheap. It's like $2.50, $3 a can. I would mix up some fuel right now, but it's empty. And for my main base, for my kerosene, or petroleum as some people call it, this is just kerosene. This is pump diesel. You can use either one. I just go to Chevron and buy this stuff for a gallon for $5. I mean, you know, they sell it in liters in Canada, not gallons like in the US, but still. So you can use straight pump diesel as your base and then mix it with all your other ingredients. Or what I like to do, because the diesel has sulfur in it, and this does not, what I do is I 50-50 mix diesel and kerosene together. And the engines seem to kind of like that a little bit more. And then I add in my oil and my cetane booster, and then my ether, of course, last. I always add my ether last. Oil first, then, you know, my kerosene or whatever I'm going to use, and then my ether on top of that. And I use this guy right here. When you mix this stuff, use a glass bottle of some sort to keep it in. Don't use plastic. Like, you'd be tempted to use a bottle like this per se, or, you know, like a 2-liter pop bottle or something. Don't ever do that. Reason being is because ether, the particles, the molecules are so fine, it'll actually leak out through the plastic. You won't see it leaking all over the ground, but it'll evaporate through the plastic, and then your fuel will go bad. So you want to keep it in a glass jar, you know, preferably with a, what do you call it, Teflon or PTFE lid. And you want to keep it in a dark, cool place, you know what I mean? You don't want to make, I mean, I've had that for about probably 2 months now, and I'm not sure if it's even any good anymore. It probably still should be fine, but, yeah, don't go mixing a whole gallon of that. Trust me, you'll never use it all, unless you're like that much of a frequent flyer, but, yeah, that's just some of the shit that I like to use to make fuel for these things. But like I said, these things make a freaking terrible diesel. I've never had good luck with them. I've seen lots of YouTube videos that people get these things to run. I've never been able to. It's got the diesel crank, the diesel head, the PTFE disc underneath. Whatever. Stupid thing doesn't run. I just stick with these here. Or, you know, a couple of actual diesel engines that are designed for that use. That a friend of mine from Ukraine sent to me. Anyhow, just a little video on that kind of stuff, because since people are commenting on it. And once again, like I said, just for everyday use. You go, if you're just going to mix up a little bit, it's right here, and you go 35% kerosene or diesel fuel, whichever you want to use, or a mixture of both. 5% ignition improver, 30% oil, 30% ether. That's my mixture, and it always works. It's quite tunable, it's easy starting even if it's cold outside. Give it a try, see what happens. Anyhow, take it easy.